Hi, this is Allison Grace. I am the managing editor of Intellectual Ink magazine. Today, we will be speaking to DiShan Washington, an amazing author, former First Lady, inspirational speaker, and just an all around great person who has been through uh, obstacles that one would not believe, but through faith and focus, she has been able to conquer. So today we're going to speak to her about so many things that she has going on, positive growth. Uh, I'm excited, and I hope you are too. Talk to you soon. And here she is, the lady of the hour, Miss DiShan Washington. I got it right, right?
You got it right.
Yay! How are you? What's
I
going
am
on?
wonderful. How are you?
I'm good. And you're in Atlanta, right?
Yes, I am in Atlanta.
How's the weather out there?
Well, today it is chilly, very sunny, but it's chilly. And so I guess we are entering into the true fall season. I hope so because I love the fall weather.
I don't know. Today's a really good day here in New York. It's about 72 degrees. I see people in
Oh,
shorts. I see some people in sweats. So it's kind of like
it
depending
was,
on how you feel.
yeah, you guys are having that LA weather.
But I love it. I'm so sad to see summer go because that's
Yeah.
my favorite season.
I know because you guys get harsh winters, right? With the snow and all that stuff. So,
Yes, and I'm also a summer baby. I love the heat. That is
mhm.
just my favorite.
Oh, yeah, you can
Sundresses
tell
and
you're
the
not in the South.
barbecues and
Oh,
yeah, I love it.
yeah. I can do without it because I'm starting to have personal summers now because I'm 41. And so I may just get hot for no reason at all nowadays. So I'm kind of happy to see the summer leave uh, because I have the personal ones every
It took
night.
me a minute to realize what you were talking about. I was like, wait a minute, I'm 45, and and I think I'm starting to have my personal summers.
Mhm,
Um, I actually started with me probably a few years ago, but
mhm.
and that's something that I could definitely tell you a story about because it's whew, that I don't know.
I'm trying to get
God has
accustomed to
reasons.
it.
God has a reason for
Yeah.
everything. Let me tell you, He has a reason for everything. So let's
Mhm.
jump into this. So,
Okay.
for those that don't know, tell them a little bit about who you are.
Oh, wow. Every time I'm asked that question, I draw a blank
I
because I
know.
so many different people, or I'm the same person, but I wear a lot of different hats. Let me say it that way. But probably to your audience, a lot of people may know me from being an author. And so I'm an author, I'm an entrepreneur, on multiple businesses. I'm a pastor now. I am a mother. I am oh gosh, what else?
A
I'm everything. I'm
friend,
the
a life
quintessential
coach.
woman,
Yes.
life coach, business coach. I just retired from ghostwriting. So I was a ghostwriter for a minute. I am a thespian. I am a film director, filmmaker. I'm so many different
You are
things.
every woman. It is all in you.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Okay, so you mentioned that you're an author.
Yeah.
Um, what inspired your first novel?
Well, here's the thing. My first novel is not the one that everybody knows me for. Everybody knows me for Diary of a Mad First Lady, right? But my very first novel was called Up High, Down Low, Too Slow. And I wrote that particular book because I had just gotten out of the theater industry, had a really horrible experience with the promoter from Hollywood. And I just got really disgusted with just the industry. But I didn't want to stop telling stories. And so it never dawned on me, to write a book because I had just been writing plays since the fifth grade. But because I still wanted to tell stories, I remember going into a Walmart, and that was the first time I ever saw a book by a person of color. And those two authors happened to be Kimberly Lawson Roby And my literary godmother, Victoria Christopher Murray, their two books were on the shelves, and I was fascinated. I was like, oh my God, there are books by, people of color. So I got, inspired by seeing their books on the shelves and still wanting to tell stories as well. And so I thought I would give it a try. And that's how my very first book was inspired. But nobody knew about it because I didn't really tell anybody. I didn't know what I was doing. And so I only sold it to family and friends. And then a couple of years later, I met Victoria Christopher Murray, who played a very instrumental role in motivating me to write Diary of a Mad First Lady. And then the rest is history, as they say.
Wow, it's funny. I guess we're sisters for real because I call Victoria my literary godmother.
Oh wow, she's
We have had
amazing. I love her.
I love her. I love her so much. Um, and I will never forget the exchange that I had. I actually had an exchange with another author. I don't know if I'll say it, but we had an exchange, and it wasn't very. You know what? I'm gonna say it because it's a teachable moment. Zane had posted on something on Facebook. In the status, it was about she wanted to open up a conversation for new and aspiring authors, right? So she was asking how people are being treated in the industry. Are you able to reach out to people? You mentioned you're a mentor. I know a lot of people come to you at times, and you're open to it, but some people, in their industry are not very open to it. And that goes along the lines of authors. Not a lot of veteran authors are open to speaking to those that are aspiring because number one, it takes time. Number two, they don't listen. And number three, it's just, especially if you're someone that consults for a price, they cannot or are not willing to pay at that moment. So the conversation was, are authors getting information that is well received? And I said no, I don't feel like I can reach out to someone. And Zane she didn't like that comment. She didn't like the fact that I spoke up for the new and aspiring authors. And this was years ago. And Victoria messaged me and asked me to go out to lunch. And we ended up meeting up in Junior's in New York City. And I gave her a copy of my book and she read it. And she was able to help me and critique me. And it was, of course, received in love. Like I didn't ask for that. She's a busy woman. She's an author. But she gave me exactly what I was talking about. Open arms. You know what I'm saying? And that's not what a lot of people are given. And I was having this same conversation yesterday, no, the day before. You don't know the impact that you have on someone's life.
Right.
When you even have a conversation with them. Because if I was on my last option and I needed the help, and I had too many doors slammed on me. No. Oh, I don't have time. Oh, I can't do this. What if I just at that time decided, no, I'm not going to write anymore because no one is welcoming me.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And shout out to Zane. I love and appreciate her. She's very thought provoking. She's a very nice person. We've actually met. But the fact that Victoria opened her arms and was able to speak to me and encourage me. That kind of changed the trajectory of my life because I was like, my voice matters. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
And I definitely appreciate that. Kimberly actually was on the cover of our magazine. So
she's amazing too. Yeah, she's amazing too. Met her, talked to her, spoke to her several times. I remember when I got started, I didn't know anything. I just knew I loved telling stories. And so I was really embarrassed after writing the first book, because when I got it back, you self-publish, you don't know what anything's going to look like. You get it back and I remember thinking, this is not what their books look like in the store. And I was just like, I'm never going to sell this book. And at that time I was married, and my husband was like, oh, you're going to sell these books because I just paid for 500 books to get shipped to this house. You're going to sell these books. And I, I ended up giving them away later on, but Victoria was very instrumental in teaching me how to hone the craft of writing. She was like, you have a natural gift of storytelling. You just now need to, sharpen your skills. And so I became a student of the craft. She motivated me to become a student of the craft. And I tell any inspired author, you can be really good at telling stories. You can even feel like you're an amazing writer, but you are a student until you're not. And even to this day, I still study whatever it is that I'm doing and I'm putting my energy into. I study the great people who've already done it or are at the top of their game, because you can never learn too much. And so I really appreciate her, in all that she's done to blaze the trail for so many of us. And, every now and then we get together, we get on the phone and we just stay on the phone and stay on the phone. And we have this joke among us, both of us, we're just always like, okay, we have to schedule time to talk, because we get on the phone and we'll still be talking 3 and 4 and 5 hours later. Nobody's writing, nobody's getting any work done. And so we joke about it all the time. So
I love that.
but yeah,
that.
I love her. I love her. Mm-hmm.
So you did mention that you were married, and you're very vocal
Yes.
with that.
Mm-hmm.
If I can, without getting too personal, it's up to you. How did that? Let me see how I can form this sentence. How
Just
did
ask it.
yeah, right. How did the dissolution of your marriage change you?
Wow. And so as you stated, I'm very vocal, very transparent. People who follow me know that I will tell it all, in partly because I believe in telling my own story so people can get it right when they try to retell it. They can get it straight from me. It changed me in a number of ways. Obviously, negatively, it affected me initially because my self-esteem tanked. I didn't feel worthy. I did not feel loved. I felt rejected. I felt abandoned, all of the things that traditionally come with the dissolution of a marriage. But on the other hand, I found myself. I got married when I was 16 years old. And so I like to tell people that my ex-husband raised me. He raised me to be the woman he wanted. And so after he left, I didn't know who I was apart from him. And so that is what led to the suicidal attempts, because I just felt like I didn't have a purpose in the earth if I was not married to him. And so the divorce taught me how to hustle. It taught me how to survive. It taught me how to tap into a skill set that I didn't even realize I had. I didn't even know that I knew how to be an entrepreneur for real. We had built some things together, but I had never done anything myself. So it taught me my strength. It showed me and revealed to me my own power. To be able to build a life and manifest the life that I want. It taught me the do's and don'ts of relationships too. I love talking about this because I learned so much. I learned more in my divorce than I ever did in my marriage. And I was married for 17 years. I was married for 17 years. And so being that I got married so young, I spent, the first several years just going through the motions of what I had seen my mother and my grandmother do. I didn't really understand what true marriage was and partnership and all of those things. And so after I got a divorce, I set out on a journey to not only discover me, but to discover the components of marriage that we don't talk about, that we don't teach, the things that we don't share with other women and other men about how to make marriage work, what love really is. I didn't know love was a choice. I thought that you just haphazardly meet somebody and you get the goosebumps and the butterflies and you say to yourself, oh, this must be the one. But then after, growing up and maturing, I realized it's a choice you have to make every single day. And so many things that I learned, but it changed me, I would say, for the good. I'm a better woman than I was 10 years ago when the marriage dissolved. And it also, now that I have 2 daughters, it made me a very strong woman. which, serves as a strong example to my daughters. They're looking up to me. They're seeing what I'm doing, how I'm maneuvering through life. And to hear them say, Mommy, we're so proud of you, it just warms my heart, because Ariana, my youngest, everybody knows her as Oreo. She wasn't born yet. But when I got a divorce, our daughter together, she was, a little less than a year old. And so she doesn't remember us being married. She doesn't remember that. She remembers the first 5 years of her life, us kind of struggling. Everything was rocky. Everything was, vague. I didn't know what I wanted to do with my life. I didn't know how to survive. And so she's kind of been on that journey with me. And so to be on the other side of all of that now is rewarding, because she can remember couch hopping with me and, sometimes sleeping in the car with me.
Wow.
She remembers a lot of that. It's amazing, because, I would not have thought she would remember, but she does.
Yeah.
And so it makes where we are now even the sweeter, because she knows Mommy worked really hard to get us to where we are.
That's amazing. The story is definitely one that's inspiring, and you've been through a lot, girl.
Oh, yeah.
You've been through a lot. You are a survivor for real, for real. From this angle, you look like Shanice, the singer, right from this angle.
Really?
Yes, yes. I don't know, maybe it's the hair. Beautiful.
Probably. Cute.
But so let me see. If you could ask 12-year-old you a question right now pertaining to what you know, what would you ask? And what would be the advice that you would give?
I could ask my 12-year-old self. Let's see, 12 years old. I would probably ask myself, why are you trying so hard to fit in? Because at 12 years old, that is what I was doing. And I found myself doing that throughout adulthood too. My advice to my 12-year-old self would be, sweetheart, embrace your differences.
Oof.
You were not born to fit in. You were born to be a trendsetter. You were born to blaze trails. You don't have to fit in. You don't have to be accepted by your peers. You don't have to dress like them. It's okay to be okay with how you look and how you feel. And those thoughts that you think are crazy, they really aren't crazy, because it's only crazy until it happens, And so I would tell my 12-year-old self, you're on the right path. You're, even though you think nobody likes you and nobody is accepting of you, just keep on living, because there's going to be your people. There will be people who will be in your tribe who will want to know what you have to say, and they will want to experience what you have to offer. They'll want to have what you have to give. And so I would just tell her to just remain confident, because at 12 years old, I was struggling with peer pressure, because I didn't think the way my peers thought. I was always so much more mature than my age, which, I said I got married at 16, but at 16 years old, I was probably thinking like an 18, 19, 20-year-old person, because I grew up in a home with pastors, and I'd seen a lot. My grandparents were pastors. And so I was never your average 12-year-old. But I would just really encourage myself to just, at that time, just be a kid, number one. That would be part of what I would say, number one. And then number two, like I said, to just be okay with being different. I hated that I was different. I hated it. And now looking back, I realized those differences is what has gotten me the influence that I have, the platform that I have, the opportunities that I've been afforded has been because of my differences, and because I don't think like everybody else thinks.
Wow. So you sparked two questions that I had, but the one that's on the forefront right now is you have gone viral for for one of oh boy, for one of your Facebook messages. Do you want to expound on that? Because I
Well, which one? I've gone viral a couple of times. I went viral for Christian erotica.
yes,
And then I went viral for Single, Saved, and Still Horny.
yes.
Um,
That one is just that's the one that sticks out to me because you
yeah,
put
shut it
single
down.
and saved and then as horny on the on the end.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes you have to have some sort of clickbait to get people's attention. And
Right.
then when they come in, then they're able to hear all sides, and then they put it all together in a nice little bowl. And then it's like, well, you know what? Maybe that's exactly what she was
You,
trying to say.
you know, it's crazy though, Allison. I really didn't do it for clickbait. I'm just me.
No, this is what they're doing now, though.
Oh
Yeah, but
yeah.
you
So
went
it's
from
like
genuine.
I Googled myself recently and on YouTube, and I didn't even realize that people had done YouTube videos about me until like maybe 3 weeks ago. And I was like, because I talk like that, I'm real. I'm so transparent. I'm so real that sometimes it's like it can come across offensive because everybody can't accept the realness. They can't, especially in the church industry, church world, if I can say that, we're so used to sugarcoating things and hiding behind the truths. And I just never, once I got divorced, I found a new freedom, right? And so the whole time I was married, I didn't really have a voice. I was just really what everybody wanted me to be. And then that moment I found myself, I realized I like speaking. I like saying what was on my mind. And so that particular day, I remember like yesterday, I was on the phone with my assistant, and I had put up a post from an inbox chronicle that I had gotten about from some woman saying, your Christian erotica is promoting the wrong thing or something, and you need to be a woman of God and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, I went on her page, I looked and saw that she was not married. And I asked her, do you ever get horny? Like, I mean, just a flat out question. Like, I didn't think anything was wrong with it. And she was like, no, I don't. I don't get horny because, I'm constantly with my mind on Jesus and I'm in the word or whatever. And I was like, wow, that's amazing because I love Jesus too. And I read the Bible too, but every now and then I get horny. I'm sorry. Maybe something's wrong with me. And so I told my assistant, I said, I want to do a symposium or Facebook Live. I want to talk about this because I think people are living in denial that Christians are having sex or they're horny. Maybe they're not having sex, but they want to, unless they have some type of medical condition, And I'm like, I was married for 17 years. And I know that my body did not get the memo and that I was no longer married. It did not get a direct message or an inbox, a text or nothing, an email, nothing. My body was doing what my body does, and there was no way for me to shut my hormones off. And I felt like people needed to have that discussion. And so I, honest to God, was just like, I just wanted to have a real discussion. I told my assistant, put it on the flyer. And she was like, people are going to have issue with that word. And I was like, I don't care. They don't have to listen. They definitely don't have to pay the $7 to hear what I got to say. But just, I want to go with it because it's real. And I really did not expect for it to go viral. I got a call from my friend and she was like, you're trending on Twitter. And I was like, me? For what? And she was like, this symposium that you're doing is trending. It's all over social media. It's on the blogs. It's on Baller Alert. It's on Hollywood Unlocked. It's on Shade Room. And I promise you, Allison, I was so blown away. I thought to myself, these people have nothing else to do than to sit here and talk about me using the word horny, the word that we use behind the scenes all the time. I didn't get it. Like, I honestly didn't get it, but I was happy for the exposure. And it cost $7 to have that conversation with me and people from all the way to Australia. I made some money off that.
Nice. But do you know why they felt like it was offensive?
Yeah, I understand why they felt like it was offensive. I'm from the church world. I'm third
Yeah.
generation. So yeah, I totally get why they didn't want to use the word horny, but it's the same reason why Christian erotica went viral, because they didn't think Christian and erotica should be in the same sentence, when the word erotica derives from the Greek word eros, which is a form of love. And so I'm educated, Bible educated, right? A lot of people don't know that about me. Like, I literally went to Bible college. And so every argument that people come to me with, I can literally, with scripture, totally have you be quiet. You know what I mean? So like, I was prepared for it. It was like, okay, come with it. You know, if I'm wrong, tell me I'm wrong. Show me where I'm wrong, but you got to be able to show me, because I'm not easily influenced by spiritual bullying. You know? But I understood why they felt a little tight and were offended. Yeah, I got it. But hey, sometimes it's the hard conversations that lead us to deliverance. And at the end of the day, that's what I'm going for.
Ma'am, that's a whole word. A whole. I need to drink. Oh my Lord. Need a moment. Can you say that again, please?
I said sometimes it's the tough conversations that lead us to deliverance. Yes.
Some people don't get that. Like, I'm literally saying I'm about to cry, because the tough conversations are the ones that resonate the deepest. But it only works when you listen with your heart. You can't just listen with the ear. You have to listen with your heart. You have to literally take in and understand through your soul, your spirit, your being, not your physical ear, exactly what's being said, because that is listening to respond, not to comprehend. If that was a person, that is exactly what that is, because people, people like to go back and forth. People like the debate. It's like ping pong. They love to catch and receive and throw it back. But other people, kind of like you and kind of like me, we take things, we hold on to it, we analyze it, we take a look, we take a piece of it, put it down, give the rest back. You know what I'm saying? That's taking the meat and throwing away the bones. Sometimes things don't resonate or apply to certain things, but then the rest of that, you have to say, okay, well, maybe this is what she meant, and this is what was said, but I'm gonna take that because that's a good point, and I'm gonna hold on to it. But everything else, I'm gonna get back, because that doesn't apply to me. People don't think like that, and I appreciate your honesty. I absolutely do, because I grew up in the church, and there were times, to be absolutely transparent, when I listened to the messages about, oh, you gotta get your husband's coming for you, and blah blah blah. But then when there were men in the church, they were literally vetted by leadership and picked up, and it was, Joe was for Sarah, Mark was for Betty. They couldn't switch or intertwine, because this is the person that God had for you. They picked you. You couldn't go out and you couldn't date anybody else outside of the church. You couldn't bring a man in, because they looked at him like, why are you here? This is not the man for you. It was almost kind of like an arranged marriage type thing.
Yeah.
And that left a lot of women socially awkward.
Yeah.
That left a lot of women wondering, does he really like me? How will I know? Like the Whitney Houston song. Because they did not know how to date. They did not know how to recognize red flags. And they were marrying these men that God had for them, because it was arranged, vetted, and set up by the leadership. And these men were being perceived as absolutely amazing when in fact they had deep, dark secrets. But
Yes.
because they could not, um, be vetted properly, or they couldn't really do, their own type of background check, and they were very unsure. They were left in very uncomfortable situations. Um, growing up in you are basically a preacher's kid, a PK. How did that affect you going forward with your marriage and your dating life, if that even applies?
Well, I was raised sheltered, what I believed to be sheltered at that time. I did not understand my parents were trying to protect me from life. I did not understand the pressures that they were under trying to raise the perfect kids because we were the PKs. I didn't get that until much later in life, but I didn't really have a dating life. I got married at 16. So I was able to maybe go on a couple of dates, but for the most part, whatever dating I did was what the guy ended up marrying as a kid, pretty much. Initially, when I got married, I was trying to be my mother and my grandmother. I was trying to emulate them and mimic their behavior, what I saw them to be as first ladies of churches, and married to the pastors. And so it was, very influential. My upbringing, being a PK, was very influential going into marriage and beyond. I'm very open by saying when my husband left is when I started to live. That's when I started to understand life, the real life. I didn't know I had lived in a bubble for 20 years, almost 20 years with this man. I just really thought life was just whatever it was, we had made it. So when I got into the real world, so to speak, it was like, oh my God, people do that. Oh my gosh, it was so fascinating to me. So after he left, I became an alcoholic because I had never had a drink in my life. Right. So here I am 30 years old, having a drink pretty much for the first time, and kind of liking that feeling, liking the fact that I could drink this and go to sleep and totally drown out my problems and pretend that nothing in the world is wrong. I was like, okay, yeah, can I do that again tomorrow? Wow, I can do that again. I can go and get these apple martinis, which is what I became addicted to. And then, having been married, obviously I didn't have experiences with other men sexually. And so then I became a bona fide hoe. It was like, okay, so I like you and you like me and you want to do it, I want to do it too. Let's do it. And nobody's going to say anything about it. So I think I lived my life backwards. Like the things that people did in their late teens, early 20s in college, getting that experience. I didn't have that. At 17, I was a pastor's wife. 18, I was a first lady. 25, I was a pastor. So I lived all those years when my peers were out there living their best life. I was out there doing installations and church programs and banquets and stuff, right? So after he leaves, and I just kind of went, wow, like I just didn't know how to have these freedoms because I had never had freedom. I went from having rules and restrictions at my parents' house to being married and having rules and restrictions within the confines of a marriage to just being free to go do what I want to do. And I was like a horse out of a stall. I just went for the races. I was like, yes, let's go. I was like, let's do it. If I could try it, yes, let's go. And so, I mean, it took a while for me to not look over my shoulder because I was so accustomed to being in Atlanta, everybody knowing me as Pastor D or Pastor Di, Lady D, Lady Di. And I would just have to be really careful. And then I went from that to not nobody caring who I was. Oh, I was living my life, honey. I was listen, I was living my best life. Wasn't going back and forth with these, I was happy, until I wasn't. Until I crashed. And it was like, that ain't even really me. Like I thought that's what people have made me to be. And then I realized, nah, that's kind of me though. Like I don't really want to be out here being an alcoholic. I don't want to be out here, just sleeping with whoever. And it wasn't that it was just a lot of people, but for me, it was a lot of people. But it took me getting pregnant out of wedlock for me to just really open my eyes and see that, okay, this is consequences to this type of behavior. I had taught it, I had preached it, but I had not lived it. So I was far removed from it. Personally, I was only teaching and preaching what I had heard, not what I had lived.
That's what I was going to
say. Now when I'm ministering from a personal place. That's why I think my posts and my messages resonate with people, because they know I've lived it. That's pretty much. Let me see. I can't say that I really had any domestic abuse situations, but anything else you can think of, lived it, survived it. That's the only thing I haven't had to thankfully, I have not had to deal with that.
Whew, that's heavy, but heavy is the head that wears the crown.
Yes.
And you are an absolute joy, and you have been through so much, so inspiring. The next thing that I wanted to ask you was, with everything that you've gone through, and you have been through a lot, but you also have grown up with spirituality.
Mm-hmm.
At any point in time, did you blame God for the things that you went through and had the why me moments?
I blame God, and I was angry with God to a point I quit going to church for years. And that sounds very foreign because I grew up in church. And after having been a pastor, then get a divorce, I quit going to church. And I told God, I said, if you ever get me back, then I'm going to be the best Christian. But right now, I'm cool on you. And I'm cool on everything you stand for, because none of that worked for me. I was the good girl. I followed the rules. I did what I was taught to do. And look where that got me. I'm here holding the short end of the stick. And so I was angry. I'm going to be talking about this tomorrow at church when I preach. But I was thinking about this earlier as I was preparing my message for tomorrow. Sometimes we don't understand the parts of our journey that are God ordained, because when we're actually going through the process, it looks like the world is caving in. It looks like you can't catch a break. It looks like even though you may have 3 good months, you're going to come back and have 9 bad ones. And so at the time you're going through, you don't know what's God, what's not, and what's self-inflicted. You're just trying to survive it from day to day. So you're not really concentrating on how is this adding to where I'm ultimately going, right? And so God was silent. He wasn't speaking. It seemed as though he was allowing one bad thing after the other to happen to me. And I'm just like, God, when do I get a break? And every time I would see a beam of light and I go towards it, by the time I got to it, it disappeared. And I could not understand that, and did not understand that I was going through a divine journey that was ultimately going to lead me to, as you'll probably hear me say tomorrow, the palace. I'm preaching about Joseph, and Joseph, we know, goes through the pit stop, and then he gets a break, and then he ends up dealing with his boss's wife, who is just hell bent on trying to get him to do something. And Joseph is like, look, I got it good. I don't want to mess this up. I'm finally at a place where I'm content. Okay, forget the dream. Forget about I had that dream. I just want to be content. I'm not in the pit. I'm not in slavery anymore. I actually got a good job. And then all of a sudden, his life is turned upside down, and he finds himself in another place of bondage, which is the prison. And so all of these moments, though, were divine, because each one of those steps led him to where he ultimately became ruler over everything. And so I was angry with God because I could not see, or I did not understand, how I could be a good person, how I could try my best to treat everybody right, how I could do my darnest to please God. And then this is where I end up. So I stopped going to church. I didn't want people talking to me about the word. And God forbid any prophets try to come around me and you give me a word. And, God told me to tell you, I remember saying one time, can God just do one thing he already said before he add on to what you say he add on to it? Can he just go back and do something he already promised me? Because right now I'm not seeing none of that. So I don't want to add on no more promises. I don't need another word from God. If he could just do one of the other words from like 3 years ago, I'll be happy, And so I was so upset. And it took a while. I'll be honest with you. It wasn't one of those moments where I woke up one day and said, okay, I'm just going to get back to God. No, it was literally a process back. It was me being reacquainted with what I know God promised me. And see, a lot of times when we go through the pit, when we go through the prison, we lose contact with the dream. We lose our excitement for the dream. We lose our hope for the dream. And so then you build a life based on the hand that you were dealt.
Oh, Lord.
And so that's what I did. And then one day I was like, but I know this was my dream. I know what God promised me. And I had to take one day at a time, one step at a time. And what it did was it made me conscious of every decision, because I'm like, is this a distraction or is this a necessary step to get to my next place? If you ever figure out how to identify those distractions versus the necessary steps, then you'll never be confused as to which way to go in life. Yeah. I'm sorry. I'm not trying to make you cry.
No,
I'm sorry.
oh my God.
Yeah, we settle for versions of the dream. After it takes a while for it to happen, we settle for versions of it, and we make ourselves content. And we say, that's okay. I don't have to have all of that. I'll just do this. Why did I even think that was possible in the first place? Why did I think I could do that? So if I can just do this right here, then I'll be satisfied. I'll be content. But inside, there's something that's pushing you and pulling you, saying, no, this is not it. There's more, there's greater, there's bigger. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I had this conversation yesterday with a friend of mine. I just went through a very, very, very severe breakup after being with somebody for 4 years. And exactly what you just said a few minutes ago was what I told her. I knew that he wasn't the man for me, but if he gave me this much, it was enough because I had such a glimmer of hope that if he could give me this much, then everything else,
you'll fix that. You'll work on that.
Right. And I knew for a fact that this wasn't the man for me. But I was holding on to a dream, literally. And it's always uncomfortable, especially when you know the person or you think you know the person, you've known them for a long time. So it's kind of like, well, they're my friend, they wouldn't do anything to hurt me, blah blah blah. But it's the ones that know you, they always hurt you the most or the worst.
Oh yeah.
And I actually have a tattoo that says that only those you trust can betray you, and I definitely trusted that person. And I don't hate him. I don't hate, I don't hate him because the signs and the symbols, the things that he put in front of me, the representative that he showed me, it was there. But I didn't want to see who he was for real.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
that resonated, and I know for a fact that that was something that it catapulted me the first time because I wrote a book about it. And I know that me being able to speak about it now is kind of like a push pin. Like I know that me being able to talk about it this time and the finality of it will be able to push me beyond and help somebody else get through
Mm-hmm.
the same thing because this time around it was more severe. It was definitely a severe breakup. It actually affected my mental health
Mm-hmm.
because I had that going on and other things like work and
Mm-hmm.
friendships. So
Yeah.
it was
And
just
with the middle of a
I
pandemic where we've been
spiraled.
isolated for a while too. Yeah, for normalcy. Yeah, I get it.
So I
Mm-hmm.
spiraled and I tanked.
Mm-hmm.
I tanked. I don't know if I don't think anybody knew, but it really, really affected me. And then I found myself like I grew up in church, and I don't have a church home right now,
Mm-hmm.
and hard during the pandemic because at the very moment when I said, I need to find a church out here in New York that I actually want to go to, that's when the pandemic hit, and then they weren't doing anything. The churches shut down.
Right.
I was like, I'm stuck. But
Well, you
I
can be an
always,
e-member at the Love Church
oh
until you find a
yes,
local church.
ma'am, yes, ma'am, yes, ma'am, yes. And we're gonna get to that because I we definitely need to talk about that. But it was it was at that point when, I found myself having conversations and I say that I talk to myself, but those that know me, they know when I talk to myself, I'm really talking to God.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes you have to verbally cry out to him.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not like he doesn't hear you. He hears you.
Mm-hmm.
He always hears us. He always hears us. But we have to cry out to him. And I found myself doing that in the shower and because I had the best conversation in the bathroom. I don't know. Maybe it's the acoustics.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But I definitely was crying out to him. And it was at that moment when I realized something has to change. I can't do it anymore.
Right.
I have to. Um, wow. Whew. It's deep. Okay. Now, about your amazing, amazing journey with the Love Church. I know that it has gone through. First of all, the name alone is one that is so welcoming. Whether you say the name out loud, the Love Church, or go by its initials, TLC.
See, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Like
You get it.
you can't run from it. The love is there.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Tell me more about it. What made you
Oh
decide
gosh.
to get back, even though you never left, but get back and establishing yourself as a pastor?
Yeah, so when I got a divorce, our church that we had at the time was called Agape Global Church. Agape meaning the unconditional love of God. And so it was so significant to the purpose that my ex-husband and I felt we were brought to the earth for, which was to love people. And we had established that when I was 17 years old. We were riding one night and I told him, I said, I'm here to love people. I know that's why God put me here. I had no idea the challenges that I would face where it would require me to love, even though it hurt. But then after we got a divorce, as I said, I spiraled downward. But I had an opportunity to do a project for Bishop Jakes, and this was 2016 or 2015. And I remember sitting in Publix, which is a grocery store here in Atlanta, the parking lot of Publix. And I heard God say to me, your purpose didn't die with your marriage. And I broke down, I was crying and I was like, oh my gosh, wow type thing. And so that was a moment where I realized that at some point I would go back into ministry. And so then in 2017, I announced that I was getting ready to do the Love Church. And I was like, I can't run from this anymore. I got a vision for it. And then I got deterred off my path, listening to other people. And I got deterred. And in hindsight, I think it was a divine thing, because I have learned so much in 4 years. And I did everything I could. I moved to LA trying to run from it. I got involved with somebody else's ministry trying not to do it. And I was just like, okay, God, it was literally June of this year that I said, okay, God, you got my yes. Because what do we need now more than anything? We need love. We've gone through the worst probably world event of our generation. And there are a lot of people who are struggling to hold on to hope. All of us have pretty much lost someone to COVID-19 or either the Delta variant. Most people I talk to have lost at least one person that they know personally that has affected them. And me, myself, having had it and then experiencing strokes, it just kind of put a lot of things in perspective for me. And I said to God, I don't want to die full. I want to die empty. I want to die knowing that I at least said yes to everything that you told me to do. And I at least tried it, even if it don't work, right? And so it was real simple what I would name the church, because again, I feel my purpose on earth is to love people and to love Christ. But then it was meeting my ex-husband's mistress, the woman he left me for. It was meeting her and becoming friends with her, accepting their children as my own children, that really taught me, or that really showed me that there was a love inside of me that was just unexplainable. Everybody was around me was like, how can you love her? How can you treat her? It was that moment that I met her that I recognized that I was in a test. God was testing me. Can you really love everybody? Can you really love anybody? No matter where they come from, no matter what they've done, no matter what they've done to you, can you really love them, show them the love of God? And so I said to her the first day we met, I said, I'm here to finish the assignment that my ex-husband left, where he left off at. I'm here to finish it. And we were no longer married. They had just broken up. And even when I was saying it to her, I'm thinking, I must be crazy. Like, I don't even know what I just said, but I just felt like that was what I was supposed to say. And she is now a member of the Love Church. She actually relocated to Atlanta to be a part of the church. Girls, I'm on an interview. My daughter is behind me. No, I'm on an interview. Literally live. Please go away. Thank you. I guess I've been on this too long. I'll be off shortly.
Yeah, I'm not going to hold you too long.
I'm sorry, what? I won't be on much longer. Give me 5 minutes, okay? I'm sorry, y'all. I'm being a mom.
It's okay.
And a babysitter.
It's okay.
But I always use that example because that was probably one of the most difficult tests of my life, to be able to love the woman who at one point I blamed for ruining my marriage, ruining my life. Ultimately, that is the reason why I got a divorce. That was the reason why I quit pastoring, because our church dismantled shortly after that. All of the blood, sweat, and tears that we put into that ministry came to nothing. I became bankrupt because of it, homeless because of it. All of these things happened because of that. And to be able to embrace her, you would never know it now, because again, she's on the board of directors at my church. And it's a physical example of what agape looks like. And so I feel as though I have been called to love people. And so my prayer every week is not for God to help me to preach better, but it's to help me love better. Because if we learn to love people right, if we learn to love people well, I think we would have a more positive image of relationships, whether romantic or platonic, whether it's business. I think we would see brighter days. And so, yeah, it's a heavy assignment because it's not easy loving people who aren't like you.
Right. But
But it's
you're doing it.
yeah, it's a necessary one. And God is love, 1 John 4:8.
Yes.
He is love. You can't say you know God and you don't know love.
Mm.
And you can't say you love God and you don't love people. Because he's the personification of what love is. And the only 2 commandments that Jesus ever gave us was to love our neighbors as ourselves. Oops. I think I lost you.
No, wait, I see you.
You see me?
I see you. You see
I think
me?
okay, I see you. Somebody was trying to call me.
Oh.
Okay.
Oh, wow. Okay. Been a very good conversation. I didn't even realize we were talking this long. I swear. Now I know why Victoria has a chunk of 6 hours.
Yeah, we have to have an agenda when we talk. Like, okay, we're gonna talk about this, talk about that.
Yes.
Everybody says I'm easy to talk to, and so that could be good or bad. That could be good or bad because I take up all your time. But I have thoroughly enjoyed the conversation.
You have if I didn't say it before, I absolutely appreciate you. I appreciate you speaking with me today. I know that this is, even though we're not strangers to each other online. This is our first time meeting face to face, and it's absolutely a pleasure and a joy. And you are a mom, you are a businesswoman, you are wanted, and I feel like I've taken up so much of your time. But
that's okay.
Really quick, tell me exactly where we can find you, especially on social media.
Yes, I'm on all social media as I am DiShan. That's Instagram, Twitter, DiShan Patrice on Facebook if you want my personal page. The Love Church Atlanta is our church page. We'll be streaming there tomorrow and every Sunday at 9 a.m.
9 a.m.
Yep, 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And then DiShanPatrice.com and TLCAtlanta.org are the 2 websites where you can stay connected to me and what I'm doing, what I have going on.
Awesome. I really appreciate you speaking with us today. And
thank you for having me.
Of course. And I definitely look forward to meeting with you again. And when I'm in Atlanta, I will look you up.
Yes, please do that. Keep in touch with me.
Absolutely.
Okay, well, you have an amazing day, and know that you are in my prayers. Breakups are never easy, and it takes a little time to kind of get over those breakups. But you're strong, and I believe that what's for you is coming faster than you even realize. But sometimes something has to get out of the way to make room for what's really supposed to be there. So you be encouraged by that.
Oh, Jesus.
Just be open. Be open. Give yourself an expiration date on your pain and be open. Be open.
Yes, I will. I will. Oh, Lord. Hey, you go preaching to me, ma'am. I can't with you today. You done made me cry already. But I thank you and I love you. I really do.
Love you more.
We'll definitely talk soon offline.
Okay.
All right. And kiss the kids.
I will. They're going to be happy to know they can get a snack now.
All right.
Have a good one.
You too.